Welcome back to another episode of Scoundrels, Inc. We are reviewing episode 5 of The Bad Batch Season 2, titled Tribe. We're also going to get into some questions that were submitted in our Discord. And if this is your first time joining us on our channel, please consider subscribing to our channel, clicking like, leaving us a comment, even jumping into our Discord. And we're starting to have more and more conversations over there, so that's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, and the show is just really picking up some steam. We even have a rap written about us that I'm going to say. So, you ever heard of ChatGPT?
GPT.
GBT, whatever it is. It's this crazy AI thing, not line. You can type it to do anything. You could be like, write a poem about my wife, Dasha, and it writes like a poem about her. And I was like, hey, I'm going to just try something. So I said,
how romantic.
Write a rap about Scoundrels, Inc. And so to lead us into the title card, God. I'm going to read the chorus and the first verse, and then the chorus again.
Okay.
Here we go. Scoundrels, Inc., the notorious crew, with their cunning and wit, they always come through. They'll take what they want, and then they never leave a trace. Scoundrels, Inc., their fame and skills in place. That's the chorus. Verse. From the shadows they strike, with grace and with speed. No vault is too tough, no lock too hard to breed. Well, that's weird. They're the rulers of the night, the ghosts of the city, stealing from the rich and keeping it pretty. Scoundrels, Inc., the notorious crew, with their cunning wit, they always come through. Verse 3, they got the gadgets, they've got the know-how. With their teamwork, they'll make you say, wow. They'll rob you blind before you can even say heist. Scoundrels, Inc., their success is unceasing. So it's not perfect yet. Run to the logo. First time I typed that in and it just started like typing it out, it felt like I had that out of body experience when something creeps you out where you're like, how is it doing it? Like I asked it to do a review of KOTOR Episode 1, A Familiar Path, and because it garners from every piece of text that's ever been on the internet, and it was able to write a 3-paragraph review of my KOTOR Episode 1, A Familiar Path, like as if it was like a reviewer from the newspaper.
Wow.
It's crazy.
That is crazy.
Crazy creepy, but I hope you like that rap.
You know what? It's pretty good, but we'll work on the ending, I guess.
Not as much as I like Gunji.
Hey.
I'm going to ask ChatGPT at the end of the day how our podcast was today.
Okay,
so
great.
let's just continue.
Ask it what Gunji would think of our
podcast. So we get
podcast.
Gunji, we go to Kashyyyk, which was really awesome. We got some
Baby
Trandoshans.
Why can't we call him Baby Chewie? Everybody
his name
calls
is Gungi.
They called everybody Grogu Baby Yoda.
My question is, why doesn't every single Star Wars project have a Jedi Wookiee in it?
That's a great question.
I was literally saying this to Frank before the show. Imagine the season 2 finale of Mandalorian. Instead of Luke Skywalker showing up, it's freaking Gunji.
Well, okay.
All
first
of a sudden, you see a Wookiee's paw with an ignited green lightsaber.
I'm sorry. I don't think you're going to find anyone
cutting down the Dark Troopers.
Do you know who they were told on set that there was the Jedi saving?
Plo
Koon.
Yeah.
Doesn't make much sense to me.
We're all nerds here, bro.
I love it.
But what does make sense if it was Gunji.
But like you're asking people to be like, hey, I didn't want Luke Skywalker, but how about let's get this
because like
very
imagine
little known.
Imagine
we all love him, no doubt about it.
Imagine the shock value. You see the green blade, you think it's Luke, but then all of a sudden it's a Wookiee.
You say shock. I think people
imagine you think it's Luke, and then all of a sudden it's a Wookiee holding the lightsaber.
And then half the fans of the Mandalorian will be like, who the hell is that Wookiee?
Exactly.
Because they didn't watch Clone Wars.
Gunji, bro.
Nice try, Brandon. Nice.
This is the best episode of the Bad Batch.
You said this now. You really, even though the riot racing,
it only took you to fall asleep about 10 minutes into it this time.
It's not the best, but it's my favorite. I love
the
Gunji.
Crosshair episode.
Love Gunji. Huge fan of Gunji. He's a little sweetheart with a lightsaber.
Yeah.
Drinking game every time he says Gunji.
Gunji. And
drinking water.
We don't get enough Kashyyyk in our Star Wars. I loved going to Kashyyyk, learning about their relationship with the planet, with the wildlife, with the trees. They speak to the trees, and the trees, they got a plan, and it's a good plan, Frank, because the trees know what's up.
They do.
It's the trees' planet. They're just letting the Wookiees
creators
live
of the
on it.
show also were fans of KOTOR because in episode 3, Kashyyyk looks a lot different than Knights of the Republic was made after it, but they didn't follow the aesthetic from episode 3. They went more, if you've played the game, with the aesthetic of the Knights of the Republic game with Kashyyyk, with especially inside their huts was very reminiscent of the KOTOR game. And then there's also the huge huge Easter egg here that might have gone over your head because you've never played the game. I asked Frank. He said that he didn't even.
I didn't. It felt familiar, but what I will say is in the comments below, let us know how you pronounce the planet Kashyyyk or Kashyyyk. I really want to know. I really do want to know. And just phonetically spell it. Or
I think they're
whatever.
both correct. You know what I mean?
No, there's one right.
Kashyyyk. KOTOR game characters would say it both ways, which is kind of mildly frustrating.
That's because it was never said out loud in Star Wars until.
What about the
a long time.
Even Ki-Adi Moody doesn't say it. Just says, "What about the droid attack on the Wookiees?"
I don't think they say it in Revenge of the Sith.
The KOTOR reference, which I'll get to and then geek over a little bit, is the Kinraths, which are those little alien-looking things. Those, and they even use, this is why I loved it, they use the same exact sound design of it. And believe me, I know it because I would listen to it all the time when I was editing KOTOR. They use the same sound design. And basically in KOTOR, when you go to the Shadowlands or anywhere on KOTOR, the Kinraths are basically kind of look like Starship Troopers, kind of crazy alien-looking things. That's straight, like, same thing. And I like that. No, Revan didn't do it that way. Revan killed those motherfuckers. But our good boy Gunji, Gunji, drink.
You are the resident swearer now that Sean's not here.
Yeah. I have to pull
Gunji was like, yo, chill.
Yeah, he tells him to chill out. But then later you see him go through some people anyway. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that was a cool reference. I do believe that the filmmakers of animation for Lucasfilm are big fans of those two games because there's a lot of kind of references like that. So
I will say I did enjoy. I wasn't sure we were going to get Gunji in this episode, and so when he does show up, I'm like, it was like a fist pump moment for me. I was like,
when
hell
he first
yeah.
ignites the lightsaber.
Oh yeah, it was great. Or when he snatches it, I was like, damn, that's a great little moment there.
Especially if
see
you're
what
not
I'm doing,
expecting
yawning
it.
because
If you're not expecting it, if you don't know about Gunji, this is your first time. Like I knew Gunji existed, and I knew that he was coming. But imagine if I didn't know. Imagine if I went in completely blind and this Wookiee just whips out a freaking lightsaber.
That's why you'll love the Rebels show. I'm surprised you haven't seen it.
Yeah,
like you're geeking out about Gunji. Like Rebels has tons of stuff like that.
Is Gunji in Rebels? No. Then I'm not interested.
I will say I think one thing I do continually love about this show is the Omega character, and I always do appreciate when she's still staying true to herself in terms of we gotta help him. Like he's alone and he's scared, and it's interesting too because you do really see this shell-shocked Jedi who's survived Order 66. You hear Hunter and everyone talk about
it.
Yeah, you really do, and I think the way that Gunji, his whole physical stature and whatnot. His presence there, he's scared. He's been through a lot.
His head's buried in his legs. Like he's terrified. And I love that it reminded me of in Rebels, which you haven't seen yet, when Kanan hates the clones. When they meet up with Gregor and Rex or whatever, he is so standoffish with them because his experience with them is not good. And so I like that they had shades of that. I agree. It's my favorite episode I've ever seen. That said, like for me, the show is still kind of like I can't. It's just
not for you.
It's not for me, but I appreciate this episode for what it was. And for me, sadly, like it doesn't grip me. Like I'm literally editing and working on my show, or while I'm watching it on the side, and I try to sit there and focus it, and just couldn't do it. But I think that this one was great because I do like that dynamic of Jedi. Do they really trust these clones? And that the clones, that they do feel bad. Especially, I like that like Tech is the one to call it out. Like, remember, he kind of doesn't have a good opinion of us. And I thought Hunter was really genuine when he's like, dude, bro, I'm sorry. So I thought that was good. And the characterization with Gunji was great as far as that goes. And this made me like Omega more. Omega is just, you really root for her. She's just a good person, a good kid, and I hope that my daughter Kira is as good a girl as this one is.
So you won't be mad when I buy her a bow and arrow?
No, as long as it's a laser bow and arrow.
Yeah. I will say also, I have this kind of like this theory, because people are talking about, well, how's Bad Batch going to end? What are they going to do with these characters? And I kind of like to think all these, or most of them, are going to ride off into the sunset.
They're going to die. In my universe, in my headcanon, they're die.
Jesus. I don't think I said this in the episode with the riot racing, but I do think that Tech, once the Bad Batch disbands and whatever, I do think Tech is going to go live out the rest of his years as a riot racer and get all the adulation from the crowd. I think he's really good at it, and I do think now that Wrecker will go set up shop on Kashyyyk because he loves what was the kind of the culture there. He loves like
I
oh,
can
this
get
stuff
used
is
to
great.
this.
I can get used to this line. I was like, my own theory is that they're going to be start visiting these other planets, and each of the characters might find something that they really love about this particular place or planet, and end up that's where they go and live out the rest of their days.
I love that each of them go on their own planet, although it's sad that they don't get that
yeah.
camaraderie, but like that's very cool. Like kind of like
because they're
when
going to become so notorious that they
when,
got split up. You know?
Zeb ends up
Zeb,
hanging
yeah.
out with his best buddy,
Callus, yeah.
Callus. So that's very cool.
Do they age normally, or do they have accelerated aging?
I know they're experimental clones, so we really don't know. I think.
Because I was thinking, I'm like, if they age normally,
Well, we know for sure they don't age like the other clones. I don't think.
Actually,
right?
that clone in Obi-Wan series that's asking for money, that's sadly to say.
It's Hunter.
That's Hunter. He just doesn't have the bandana anymore. Sorry, guys. That's Hunter.
He had to sell his bandana.
So there's your happy ending for Hunter.
I'm thinking they would be too old, but imagine how cool it would be if they were like in the Battle of Exegol. Like,
yeah, there's no way they can make it.
They'd be way too old.
Way too old.
Still, though.
That'd be fun.
You
cool.
love Exegol, man. You mentioned
Exegol's
it at least every 5 seconds.
Don't you just
Exegol.
marry it already?
It is. I think I don't love the Rise of Skywalker, and we'll get to it eventually in a few weeks. But
We got to it today. It feels like.
But I love the idea of there being this like secret Sith planet that like it's just all Sith worshippers, and like they've been aiding and abetting the master and apprentice that have been in hiding for over 1,000 generations or 1,000 years, whatever it's been. I like that concept.
Yeah.
It's neato, as they would say.
All right. Well, I mean,
Gunji would have snuffed him out, though.
As with a lot of these, or for right now, at least, we're going through a batch of Bad Batch episodes where there's really not a whole lot to dig into. So we really turn to our questions that we get from our Discord.
Solid episode, though. I'm gonna say 8 out of 10. And last week's, I watched that, and like, I mean, I love the references to Indy, and I know you guys talked about last week, but for me, it was just kind of bore fest, man. It was just like the next treasure of the week they're trying to go after. I really can't wait till they get back into like some of the larger themes and with Crosshair and just some of the more important arcs as a galaxy. Mm-hmm. But I get why the show does so well and that people love it. So it's just not my cup of tea. But I am able to like step away and be like, oh, this is like really excellently done, and this episode was very well done. So
and I don't know why I'm blanking on the name, but the species in this episode,
Wookiee.
Trandoshans. I like them adding more to like the world building and the lore.
They are real scumbags.
The lore
of the
that,
galaxy.
and that they are like the mortal enemies of the Wookiees.
Yeah, they are.
Like they have a long, heated
rivalry.
I'm like, it's still a little too soft to call it a rivalry, I think. Black Chrysanthemum.
It's like the Vulcans versus the.
What if we saw a Black Chrysanthemum in Bad Batch?
I was wondering, like that first Wookiee, like from a distance, I was like, "Is that you, Black Chrysanthemum?"
That'd be cool because obviously they live very long. So, anyways, as I was saying, we rely on like our second half of the show with the questions that we get submitted in our Discord, and they're usually pretty fun. And our first one that we're going to get into here is from Reefton. And he asks, is Thrawn a villain or just misunderstood? Boy, do I have a simple answer for you. But I will throw it to Brandon or Kevin to go first.
Well, I don't watch Rebels, but I do know about Thrawn to some degree. And he seems like a bad guy to me. I think he's trying to, I think, make a better life for himself and his species. But at the end of the day, his acts are entirely selfish, and he doesn't care about the well-being of others.
Is that a ChatGPT answer? It sounds very general.
That makes him a bad guy in my eyes. And, James Cameron wouldn't say this, but never trust a blue person.
Okay, Kevin.
I think he is a brilliant military man. I don't think that he necessarily would be one to be like, let's do Order 66 and kill an entire species. Like, I don't think he hates the Jedi. I don't think he has like anger or things. So, for me, I just think that he's like the most brilliant military mind, and I think he excels at that, and he would have really progressed and been at the top of the empire if he didn't leave for wherever he went to.
We'll find out.
But I think he does cruel. I must say he will go to cruel measures, but I don't think he does it to like Emperor, like and he's twirling his mustache. Like, I see him more as he's just on the opposite side of you, and you don't want to be on the opposite side of a brilliant military mind like that, because he's going to kick your ass, both mentally and with the way he can move the pieces on the board. So I would say, yes, he's a bad guy, but I mean, I don't think he's a mustache-twirling guy that's going to tie up the girl on the railroad tracks. And
I would like to know what would make him misunderstood, because I think I understand him very clearly. I think he wants to serve the Emperor, serve the Empire, and you see in Rebels, he's about squashing any type of rebellion. He wants to capture Kanan and Ezra and wants to make his Emperor proud. He serves the Emperor, the Dark Lord of the Sith, who is not misunderstood. He's absolutely a villain.
But he does it without emotions, right? He's very tactical. He's not like...
He's trying to be very pragmatic, yes.
Yeah.
He's very pragmatic.
He's not emotionally invested. He just wants to do his job.
Yes, but I think he is satisfied with himself. That's what makes him happy, when he can do a good job, when he's good at the things that he does, when he can get one on over you, when he can exert his own his tactics over you, that he's smarter than you.
Yeah.
He doesn't do it in a way to like teach you a lesson. He does it so that you will succumb to the Emperor, to the Empire. So he's a villain.
I feel like there's a comic run where there's art of him with long hair, and like something really messed up happens to him when he's younger. Maybe in the comments, if anyone's more familiar with the lore that is now canon in the comic series, I feel like, and I know maybe the novel might have addressed it, but I think like his early time also forged him to the kind of person that he is now. So that would be... I wish I had more info on that, but I don't.
Do you think if he was in charge of making the Emperor's lattes, that he would take the same amount of pride in his work? Like, wow, Thrawn, you've done it again. This vanilla latte is the best in the galaxy.
Thrawn is the ultimate PA.
He does like a little like fist pump. He's like, yes, did it again, Thrawny boy. Yeah.
Sure. Next question. Also, leave in the comments why he's misunderstood. I'd be curious to see that argument. Next question.
He's more of a cyan, not a blue. That's why he's misunderstood.
Oh, there you go. Well said. Our next question is from Haiti Nama, and his pronunciation changes every week. His question is, since the Wookiees seem to be connected to / knowledgeable about the Force, do you think Han and Chewie argued about religion on the Falcon before A New Hope?
Well, I wouldn't say that the Wookiees are connected to the Force. I would say just like any other species in the galaxy, like eventually one of them is going to grow up to be Force sensitive, you know? So I wouldn't say like as a species, they're very spiritual. Like they are a spiritual species, but not about the Force, just about their own way of life, as we just saw in this episode of The Bad Batch. So obviously, like, Chewbacca knows about the Force. He literally saw Yoda decapitate 2 clone troopers during Order 66. Like, he saw the lightsaber. He saw this old guy with a cane do a backflip. Like, he knows. He probably fought, along with him in the Clone Wars, right? It's like, he knows. Chewbacca knows. But I don't know if Chewbacca cares enough to argue with Han.
Yeah, honestly, I don't think he seems like the bickering type.
Like he's like R2-D2. He's got nothing to prove to you. He knows what he knows.
He's like, what do you? He's got a life debt.
Or maybe Han doesn't want to discuss it with him. He's just like, mumbo jumbo, right?
But also, I will say,
let's get back to the game of Jar.
Chewbacca's like, I'm just happy to have a best friend.
I will say, you spend a lot of time with someone, you're going to end up talking about a whole different stuff. You never know where you're going to go in your conversation when you spend all that time with somebody. So, is it possible? Sure, why not? And I think it would be an interesting conversation, but very short-lived.
Good question.
Yeah, a bigger question would be, do they ever hug? I bet Chewie gives the best hugs.
Dang.
Update, I can't really find anything that informs Thrawn of like something really bad happened to him, but it does say that he was such a brilliant strategist that he believed that in order to defeat the enemy, you had to know the enemy, which I think some people in war and in fights, they're not taking their time to do that.
That's why I know Frank very well.
That's concerning. Anyways, next question is from Darth Mono, someone new in the Discord. And Darth Mono. He asks, are there martial arts in the Star Wars universe? Just asking, as I want a 36 Chamber of Shaolin style film, but Star Wars.
Teräs Käsi, that's how it's pronounced, right? Teräs Käsi.
Luke Skywalker versus Hor versus Thuck. You don't know that story? Masters of the Teräs Käsi?
Yeah. Canonized in Solo, a Star Wars story. Kira knows Terrace Kasi.
Oh, yeah.
My daughter knows Terrace.
No, Kira with a Q.
Based on a game for the PlayStation 1 called Masters of the Terrace. It was a fighting game, very much like Tekken and Virtua Fighter, so it was like a 3D fighting game. But the funniest thing is it had an announcer before every fight, so it would be like Luke Skywalker versus Han Solo. And they had a Gamorrean guard, or Gamorrean guard. Gamorrean guard named Thuck. Thok. Thuck. I'm not cussing. Thuck.
Okay, I got it.
And the sand person, the Tusken Raider, his name was Hor, Hoar. So you would be like, Luke Skywalker versus Hor, or Thuck versus Hor versus Thuck, Han Solo versus Darth Vader versus Hor. It's great. You could look it online. You could hear the voice, and it's this announcery voice. But it was really cool, but it was just hard to, like, you have Han Solo fighting with a blaster, fighting Vader, who's continually swiping him in the head with a saber. So it's kind of like, unless everybody has sabers, it's hard to make a fighting game.
I'm going to make a YouTube short, reel, whatever, and no context. Just you. Hor, Duck, Hor, Luke Skywalker. Just that.
Princess Leia versus Luke Skywalker. Like, literally, you just have them fighting and stuff. But it was a fun game. Like, I liked it. I own it. I should actually... I'll post a picture of the disc or the thing I have, and I'll put it in the Discord.
Incredible. Right, our next question is from Prodigal. If only. Prodigal Knight 777, and he says...
Isn't that order 777?
Yeah, way down the line. He says... I missed Kevin and Brandon on Attack of the Clones episode. Any short rundown on how you both liked/didn't like it? And Kevin, can you spoil any details on the upcoming Revan crossover? Start with that one, Kevin, first.
Oh, yeah. Well, we finally announced it. I can't spoil many details. I told these fellas about it finally over the weekend, but...
$50, I'll tell you everything.
I basically, when I was done with my KOTOR trilogy, and I adapted it where Logan Starr, Revan, turns good in the end, another very talented filmmaker named Darth Varkor, he created his own saga where his Revan was named Don Khosra, or Dan Khosra with two N's. You always have to have two consonants to make it a Star Wars name, like Logan Starr with two R's. He had his guy realized the revelation that he's Revan, and then he turned bad in the end. And it is graphic. It is gruesome what he does. He puts some of what I do is shame, because in my movie, Logan in the end sees like, no, I know I was Darth Revan, but I was given a second life. I was given a second chance. Whereas he realizes like, dude, the Jedi are horrible. They rewrote my mind. Like, it's stuff that I teased in mind, but Logan sees the right path. He goes the wrong path. So he has this great trilogy of movies. They're fantastic, or great saga of movies. And it came out of a joke once where I was in his Discord and someone's like, "Oh, hey, it's the Logan Starr guy," and I said, "Yeah, I'm in here to announce Logan Starr Revan No Way Home" as a joke. Then he messaged me. We got to talking. We're like, what a fascinating concept. If you were to come face to face, we all make choices in our life. We all make crazy choices, sometimes good, sometimes bad. Imagine you make such a choice, such as, turning your back on everything and turning to the dark side, and then you meet a version of you, sliding door style, another multiverse version of you that made all the right choices. And how would you deal with that? And so we have a story where basically my character is the Tobey Maguire and gets sucked into his universe. Now we start, and he's living on. I could say that. No, I can't. He's living in a galaxy of peace right now, at peace with his girl Bastila, because that's at the end of my movie. That's how it happens, and he's on a planet. And something calls him to the Cathal Rift, which is from Legends, which is basically something that allows us to go to the world between worlds. And he's going to get sucked in somehow to the dark universe. So when he goes back home, we're pulling it Back to the Future Part 2, but instead of bars on the doors and a different house where he goes in, Back to the Future 2, where it's evil 1985, he goes back home, and now there's Sith flags everywhere. People are like, it's like Revan,
like
Darth
Planet of
Revan.
the Apes.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, very much. So
Apes.
But he's like at his home, and he's like, wait, the Sith took over. Like this is, and he gets face to face with the very person that made all of those choices wrong. And what becomes of that, though, is a third, more sinister villain takes shape, and those two at some point are forced to kind of come together and make a very a partnership, or at least a temporary because they do not get along at first, obviously, for good reason. But it's going to be a great story, and I think I probably said too much already. But
I was going to say, I don't think I need to watch this thing anymore.
Yeah. The story,
I'm gonna have to kill you now, Kevin.
the script is so fantastic because we made it at first like we were gonna have really fun with it. I wanted a chase scene where they were gonna go into Lego Star Wars land where we would have Lego CGI characters, and they were gonna go into Xbox land where it was all like low res and stuff. And then the more we got to writing it, we're like, this is a fascinating story about like how these two would come to grips. And is Dan gonna tell Logan like the things that he did, the horrible things that he did? It would be like if light side Anakin somehow multiverse met dark side Anakin, and then does Anakin say like when they're finally getting along, does Anakin tell him like, look, man, you don't know me, I killed younglings, and how would light side Anakin respond to that? So we have
you're the Sith Lord.
We have some crazy shit that's going to be involved in this, and if you're a fan of Scoundrels Inc., you just got because I'm not going to be saying that on the channels or anything like that, so it is great. There's your spoilers for that. So
there you go.
Good
You
question.
asked for it, you got it now.
It's going to be fantastic. Script's amazing.
Brandon, real quick, brief thoughts on Attack of the Clones, as brief as you can make them.
Attack of the Clones, I'd probably put it at the bottom of my Star Wars ranking, but with that being said, there are no bad Star Wars movies. It is the first Star Wars movie that I remember anticipating growing up, so it was a big deal for me. So I do have a lot of nostalgia for it. I love it. I think it did so much for world building and creating the prequel era as we know it and the Clone Wars as we know it, that didn't really come along until this movie. And the one negative I have to say is I think it ages the poorest out of all the Star Wars movies. The dialogue a little bit, and obviously, and I think just on a technical level, it was the first ever, massive feature film digitally released in theaters. So you can see the technical improvements from Attack of the Clones to the Revenge of the Sith. They like really figured it out. So visually, it doesn't age the best, and obviously some of the dialogue, but I love it.
Kevin.
I wish they had live action clone troopers. That was the only thing that really bugged me even back then. I was like, man, it's all like looks kind of like a video game. But again, it is actually on the bottom of my list as well, but there are no bad Star Wars movies. I have fond movies. I've seen it. I didn't see nipple rings while waiting in line for this movie, but I did. I love the music. I had the score a lot sooner than a lot of people did. I think Across the Stars is one of my favorite pieces of music, and it's tragic and beautiful at the same time. The arena battle is fantastic. I agree, and I don't disagree with anybody's favorite minutes of Star Wars. I like that Sean said that his favorite. Did he say it was his favorite minutes, or did he say it's the best minutes?
The most important 8 minutes, I think.
Yeah, he kind of said both a little
bit.
But
Yeah,
most important.
My favorite 3 minutes. It's more of like 3 or 4 minutes of Star Wars is in Empire Strikes Back when Yoda brings the X-wing out of the swamp and he says, "I don't believe it." He's like, "That is why you fail." That is the most. That's when Star Wars was really magical without midichlorians, and it was just like this wizard doing this amazing feat as this small little guy. But back to Attack of the Clones, I really liked it. I didn't hate it as much as people did. I do think that some of the lines and acting was stilted. And if you want to hear more about what I would have done differently, I actually talk about it in the podcast we recorded earlier this evening, which will be part of the Revenge of the Sith retrospective. I actually go in a lot more detail with it, so you don't really need to hear more about that.
That's true, actually. I forgot what you did that. All right, next question. We only have a couple more here from Booze. The cast of Scoundrels, Inc., that's us, have been cast as live-action Bad Batch. Who plays who? I think we kind of talked about this.
I think we did this already.
I'm Gunji.
But it was
yeah, Brandon's Gunji.
I'm gonna have to reread the question for you, Brandon. Has been cast as the live-action Bad Batch.
Bad Batch.
Still
I think you're tech because you're smarter than all of us.
Yeah,
I think I'd be tech
because your glasses.
Oh, we talked about this when you weren't here.
For sure.
No,
Sean was here because we thought I was going to be Wrecker, but then we decided I would be Echo.
Yeah,
no, because we wanted. Sean
you said
bigger.
I'd be Hunter.
No, I did. You're Hunter because you're the fearless leader.
Thank you.
I feel like, especially when I'm lifting, dude, I would be Wrecker, but right now I'm not there.
I'm the best at riot racing, so I'll be tech.
Yeah,
nice.
You know what? I'll be. Oh yeah, so you guys said I was Crosshairs. I'm like, oh, that's what you think of me and my friends.
That's right. I forgot we said that.
But I like Crosshair Scar, so I'll be Crosshairs. I would say Crosshairs. Sean could be Wrecker because he's just the big dude. You're Hunter because you're a fierce leader, and you're Gunji. Or Tech or Omega. You be Omega. You're always getting yourself into precarious situations that we gotta save every day.
Tell me this doesn't sound like Kevin. good soldiers watch my movies.
Have you seen my movies?
Have you seen Cody has seen my movies?
Oh boy. Okay.
Where is Cody?
We got two more
That's a good
questions.
impersonation.
That's pretty good.
How are you not any voices in my KOTOR movies?
I
Did
don't
you ever
know.
ask him? You probably can't afford him.
Can't afford it.
Yeah.
Very
Next
expensive.
question is from Darth Kitty. Darth Kitty. Meow. Thoughts on the delay of Jedi Survivor, and do y'all think there's any significance to it coming out after Celebration?
Where there's smoke, there's fire. Just kidding. What? I don't know. I think they're just getting it
So
right.
ominous.
I would rather they
Probably
delay
just
it.
fixing some bugs.
I think Sean made a good point right on the Discord or in a tweet. He said he had a good point. It's like it's going to take them a little longer. Like, are you guys that bummed? Yeah, it's a month.
I think they probably had obviously they have a timetable when they wanted to get it out, and they wanted to get out before Celebration because maybe they had ideas of what to do something at Celebration, and maybe that's going to change some plans. I was thinking, what if there is some sort of now beta test game that you could play at Celebration?
Mm-hmm. Well, I wonder if her question is talking about, do you think it's convenient? Like there was a reason why they wanted it after Celebration. Maybe the game's not good and they don't want all the fans around talking.
They talk about it in that press release, and I do believe them. They have to make sure there's no bugs or anything like that, because what does happen, and this happens with other AAA games that come out, most notably the one that I at least played, so I have firsthand experience, is with Cyberpunk 2077. It was very buggy, very glitch, and you can make them very attractive. Yes. It was very buggy, very glitchy, and it just makes it for a very bad user experience, and then that by word of mouth just spreads, and then people don't play your game because you're like, well, I guess I'll just wait for the update. Well, if you wait for the update, some people will remember, but then a lot of people will forget. So now you're not selling as many copies of the game. Your game doesn't perform as well, and you don't want to have a black eye game that just coming off of Fallen Order, so well received, very beloved in the fandom, that this Jedi Survivor has to almost match. It's a tall order too, but I think they can do it, especially if they're like, look, we need another month to fix some of these little issues that we're having, because we want it to be as best as we can make it for release.
Now you're going to get another month to read the book.
And that's another great thing that, for people who want to read the book, now you got more time to read the book
and play the game.
One of us has to play conspiracy theorist here. What if there's a huge announcement at Celebration that someone playing and beating the game ahead of time, it would spoil, like maybe like a Cal Kestis live action, he's in like Andor season 2 or some other live action Star Wars property.
Yeah,
maybe,
and like it's like revealed in the game, so they don't want to like it to get out before they announce it themselves.
That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, that's a great. I like the idea that the way the game ends is like, there's going to be a live action Cal. Instead, they're like, how about we just announce it at Celebration? That's a great conspiracy theory. I like that.
You got to have them.
All right, our last question. It was a late submission from the one and only. It was a late submission.
There's something called punctuality
from Nep. He got it in under
Nep
the
squared,
wire.
guy. Nep squared.
And he says, late question, which I noted, but have any of you ever considered playing titles from the Elder Scrolls, Oblivion, Skyrim, etc.? Also, what are your thoughts on Jedi Wookiees now that they are canon?
Yes. Jedi Wookiees, the best type of Jedi and the best type of Wookiees. So, Gunji all the way. I did play Oblivion when it first came out. I had it for the PlayStation 3, I believe. Didn't really get very far. I think it was just a little too advanced for me at the time. I kind of just gave up on it. But I would, if I had time, I would play. Like people love Skyrim, It's supposed to be a really cool game. So.
Same here. If I had time, I would. I owned it, and I never really got through it. My only other thing is I just wish they had a third. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they do have one now, but the first person, all the way first person, I always liked it. I would always go to the view or your third person, right? And just, and in those games, you're straight first person. Although I did hear there was a VR version, so maybe I'd look into that because I like VR. But I know and appreciate the storytelling of those games because those are done by some very talented folks, and the graphics in some of these games are impressive, and especially the live rendering of these huge places, this open world that you can go to. It's really fascinating what they were able to accomplish. So maybe one day, and then I'll do a series of movies based on it.
I would love to get into those types of games. Again, don't really have that much time, and if I do, I'm playing Star Wars games just because I love sitting in that world. And while I probably should be expanding my horizons to other areas, which I do from time to time, I'll play Final Fantasy or whatever.
You'll play it, you'll beat it.
Yeah, I'll beat it. Well, I mean, same thing. And so I those types of games do interest me. I just need to really make time for those. As far as Wookiee Jedi Wookiee, I'm looking forward to the Acolyte. I'll tell you that much. Because according to those leaked pictures, we're going to see
Gunji?
a Wookiee.
It's Gunji's dad.
Yeah. Gungo.
Great question. You know, to be for final thing, when I played Oblivion, I had it, and I own Dragon Age too, and Dragon Age is made by the KOTOR people, and Dragon Age was third person, and it was just, for me, when I was between those two, it was just easier to play Dragon Age for me. I just couldn't. It's really hard for me to get into that first person thing, but I know that I'm missing out. Because those games are fantastic, especially Skyrim and especially Oblivion. I owned Oblivion. I don't think I owned Skyrim, but yeah.
Because I actually have this thing where if I'm going to start something, I want to finish it, but then I also have a hard time finishing things. So then it's like I stick with the same things for so long because I'm waiting I'm trying to go pick it up. We heard it.
No. I just hope that there's Luke Skywalker versus Hor. I was too busy playing Masters of the Terrascasi. So check it out. ChatGPT reviewed our podcast.
Oh.
Yeah, just now.
You put it in?
Yeah, I put it in.
Okay.
I'm not joking. This is what I typed.
Oh, Lord.
Write a review about the Scoundrels Inc. podcast.
Oh, no.
And here's what it said. I recently listened to an episode of the Scoundrels Inc. podcast, and I must say I was thoroughly impressed. The podcast is hosted by a group of charismatic individuals who have a passion for storytelling and a love of all things scoundrel. They have a natural chemistry, and their banter is entertaining. The episodes are well-researched and expertly crafted with a mix of humor and drama and intrigue, which keeps you on the edge of your seat. The hosts are knowledgeable about the subject matter and bring a wealth of information and insights. They also have a great sense of humor, and their jokes and puns are the highlight of the show. The sound production is top-notch. Well done. With the clear and crisp audio and easy to listen to, the background music and sound effects are also well placed. I particularly appreciate the variety of topics covered on the podcast, from pirate legends to notorious con artists. There is something for everyone. So apparently our show is about scoundrels. ChatGPT is the future, but it's weird.
Glad to know the Skynet is a fan.
Skynet's a fan of our scoundrels. Good job on the
thanks.
sound design.
Yeah.
And graphics and music.
Excellent. Well, if you want to see more of the excellent graphics and sounds, tune in on Monday, this coming Monday, when we talk about Episode 3, Star Wars, that is, Revenge of the Sith. It's rated discussion.
R.
Rated R for
Klingons had for saying that revenge is a dish best served cold.
Oh, boy. And
it's very cold in space.
If you like Brandon doing voices, then tune in Monday. We'll see it.
If you like Exegol, too.
Yeah. We'll see it.
The entire planet's one big Sith Lord.
Scoundrel. I like the sound of that.